Hi, I'm Daniel with eTrailer, and today we're going to take a look at the CURT 1.25" trailer hitch on our 2025 Toyota Corolla. Adding a hitch to your Corolla is going to be a great idea if you're going to want to use this for cargo carriers or maybe a bike rack like our neighbor is today. Now do keep in mind that this is 1.25" and your standard accessory usually is 2 inches. A lot of bike racks are that 1.25", but if you do have a 2-inch, then we do make adapters, but do always check the weight ratings because a lot of times those cut the tongue weight of your hitch in half. Speaking of tongue weight, this hitch is rated at 200 pounds total tongue weight, and that is going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch receiver in this direction. 2,000 pounds total towing, so that's going to be your trailer plus whatever's packed inside of it. Now, as you can see, the cross tube on this hitch is completely visible, and it does have a nice shiny black finish. Now you are going to need a 1/2-inch pin and clip to secure your accessory, but most of the time your accessory will come with one. I would recommend getting a locking pin just so you have that extra sense of security when you're out on the trail and you have your bike rack back here. Now let's say you're towing a jet ski or a small trailer and you're wanting to hook up your safety chains. As you can see, you have accessible loops on the back here, and you can easily get a clevis style or an S-hook in those. Now I'll go ahead and get you a couple measurements. So from the ground to the top of our hitch receiver opening is going to be 10.25". That's going to be good to know if you have any accessories that stick out pretty far, and you want to make sure that doesn't bottom out when you're going up a steep hill. Now the next measurement is from the center of your hitch pin hole to the outside of the bumper, and that's going to be about 4.5 inches. So that's going to be good to know if you have a folding accessory like a bike rack and you want to make sure that doesn't hit your bumper when you fold that. If you decide to get a hitch installed on your Corolla, please let us know how you're liking it and what kind of accessory you're using with it in a review or comment. Now as far as the install goes, this is pretty straightforward. You do have to drill into your frame, so if you don't have the tools or time to get this installed, feel free to check out our dealer locator. We can find a professional in your area to get this installed for you. But if you're looking to do it yourself, follow along and I'll walk you through it. First off, we're going to want to get our exhaust lowered down, but we're going to want to support that. So I got a cam buckle strap. Just going to put this across the frame. There's going to be 3 rubber isolators holding the exhaust in place, and I'll get a soapy water solution, spray it on here just to make this a little easier to get off. And this middle one here was proving to be pretty difficult. I tried to use a pry bar, but I grabbed an exhaust removal tool, and this helps a lot. You can just put this on the back and get this removed a lot easier. And this last one will allow this to drop a considerable amount, so just make sure you have a hand on it and rest it on that support you have. Now with this drop down, we can get to our heat shield. I got a 10mm socket. I'm going to get these 3 bolts removed. And we'll take this off, and we will need to trim this, but I'll set this aside for now. Now we'll remove this underbody panel. There's a couple of push pin style fasteners. Just take a flat head and rotate it side to side. And it's a little easier with the trim panel tool to pull that out. And I'll go ahead and get all of these out. There's a total of 6 push pin fasteners that ran along the rear fascia, and now I got a 12mm socket. I'm going to remove some of these plastic nuts on the underside. You may have to pull on the back side, just get these deattached, but these are actually attached in here, so I'm going to leave them all in. On the driver's side, near the tire, I have a flat head, and I'm going to remove this last fastener. Just going to pull down while I'm unscrewing this. All right, and with that removed, we should be able to lower this trim piece and get it set to the side for now. I'm going to cut out our heat shield to the specs in the instructions. You're basically just cutting out this section where this sits on the frame where our hitch is going to be. So I'm going to just use some shears and get this cut out. Once you got it cut out, sometimes the instructions might be a little off, so it's a good idea to give it a test fit and make sure everything's gonna fit properly. And looks like we're looking good. So now I can take this down and we can get it. On either side, there's going to be a rubber plug into the frame. I'm just gonna use a flat head and get that out. And there's some caulking on the frame. I'm just gonna use a scraper and get this cleaned up so our hitch can sit flush. We got Scott helped me getting this lifted into place. I want to line up the front hole with that hole we took the rubber plug out of. And now the back I'm going to mark with a marker because that's what we're going to have to drill out. I'm going to do this on both sides. Now I'm going to drill the hole out to 1 inch. And first I'm going to get a pilot hole drilled, the smaller drill bit. Now I'm going to use a step bit to get this drilled out. Now they do say 1 inch in the instructions, but you just need to open it enough for this spacer block to fit through. So I'll just go ahead and get this opened up. And we're almost there, so I'll just drill it a little more. I'll file down the rough edges. And now I'll just use some spray paint to cover up that bare metal, just so it doesn't rust in the future. Now I'll take the fish wire that comes in our kit, and I will stick the coiled end through that hole the grommet was in, and fish this out the hole we just cut. Now we'll get our spacer block. I'll get that put on, and I'll thread our carriage bolt onto our coiled end. Now I'll put our spacer block up into the frame along with our carriage bolt and get this pulled through. And for the frontmost hole, we're going to do a reverse fish wire. So I'm going to put the spacer block on our fish wire and get our bolt threaded on. And I'm going to put the bolt in first. And the spacer block. And I'll just get this pulled through. And now I'll do this on the passenger side as well. I'll put the heat shield back in place. I'll put 2 of the 3 nuts back on because we did cut out one of the mounting points. Got Kevin here helped me lift this into place. We got our fish wires through the holes, get everything lined up. I'm going to carefully pull fish wire off, and I'll get the nut into place. Now it's a little easier if you can hold the bolt with your finger or with the hitch. Once we get 2 in, it'll hold the weight and we can get the rest of our hardware in. I'll go through and tighten and torque all these down. I got a 11/16 socket. Snugging these down. I'm torquing these down to the specs and the instructions. And if you don't have a torque wrench at home, you can usually rent one from your local auto parts store, or you can buy one from us at eTrailer. Went ahead and cut our lower shroud to the specs and the instructions. Now I did cut this a bit wider. I held it up there just to make sure everything would fit, and now I can put this in place. I got this panel back on. I did cut this to the specs and the instructions, but on some of the older models, you're able to actually slip this part above the hitch, but we do have a 25 today, and this space was not enough, even with loosening this hitch down. So what I did was I just cut it right behind the hitch, and it does have a lot of fasteners back here. And now I'll get this reinstalled the same way we took it off and get our exhaust back up. And that was a look at our CURT trailer hitch on our 2025 Toyota Corolla. Thanks for watching.